Just 7 minutes ago, the palace confirmed the news no one wanted to hear. At 10:17 a.m., a single statement was delivered. His Majesty's condition has deteriorated. Further details to follow: no smiling balcony, no reassuring photo, just silence. Within an hour, William and Catherine rushed to Clarence House, faces drawn with urgency. Queen Camilla was nowhere to be seen. For a monarchy built on ceremony, this was raw and human, a throne trembling. The heartbreaking announcement didn't just shake Britain, it shook the crown itself. And now the future hangs by a thread. The announcement that froze the palace. At exactly 10:17 a.m., the royal press secretary stepped before the cameras at Buckingham Palace. His pale face and trembling hands gave away what his words would confirm. His Majesty's condition has deteriorated. Further details to follow. Just 10 words, but they hit the country like a thunderclap. There was no mention of diagnosis, no timeline for recovery, no assurance for the public. Silence followed. The kind of silence that signals not stability, but collapse. Earlier that morning, at 9:12 a.m., Prince William and Princess Catherine were seen entering the palace grounds. Their car drove straight through the gates without pause. No royal waves, no acknowledgement of the waiting press. Their faces were grim, their shoulders tense. Those close to the palace noted the urgency of their arrival. It wasn't the visit of heirs offering support, it was the arrival of leaders preparing for something irreversible. Conspicuously absent was Queen Camilla. She had been scheduled for a charity gala that evening in London, but failed to appear alongside her husband in his darkest hour. Aides muttered that she was resting at Mill House, but the vagueness only fueled rumors. For years, whispers had lingered about fractures between Camilla and William. Now, her absence was louder than any words, leaving the press and public to wonder, why wasn't she there? For royal watchers, the announcement was not just about illness. It was about the monarchy unraveling in real time. A king's health faltering, an heir stepping forward, a queen consort vanishing. A silence thicker than any storm cloud settled over London that morning. And with it came a chilling truth. The reign of Charles III, crowned just 20 months earlier in May 2023, was already slipping away. The press statement was brief, but its shadow was long. Behind those 10 words lay months of secrecy, hushed concerns, and a timeline of decline that could no longer be hidden. To understand the gravity of that morning, we must go back and trace the hidden battle Charles had been waging for nearly a year. The hidden battle. The palace smiles had masked a growing storm. For more than 8 months, King Charles III had been in quiet decline. By June 2024, aides began noticing subtle changes: shorter meetings, fatigue after even routine engagements, and unusually quiet evenings at Clarence House. His calendar, once filled with overseas visits and ceremonial duties, started thinning. Official statements cited scheduling adjustments, but insiders knew better. The king was unwell. By September 2024, whispers had spread among senior courtiers. Charles had cancelled 3 consecutive private councils. In October, royal physicians were summoned multiple times each week to Clarence House. Their arrivals were carefully hidden, but staff noticed the change. One aide confided that Charles, once so animated in conversation, now seemed distracted, withdrawn, almost frail. Yet no official word reached the public. The monarchy had chosen silence. The breaking point came in November 2024. During a private strategy meeting, Charles reportedly collapsed briefly, needing medical assistance within minutes. The incident was never confirmed publicly, but palace insiders described it as the moment his authority truly began to fade. From then on, Prince William increasingly stood in for him, shaking hands, leading engagements, answering questions that once belonged to the king. With hindsight, the May 2023 coronation now appeared less like a beginning and more like a farewell. Charles had waited decades for the throne, yet within 2 years of wearing the crown, his strength was already failing. The reality was stark. The monarchy wasn't preparing for a transition. It was already in one. And while Charles struggled quietly, William and Catherine began filling the space, not by inheritance, but by necessity. A king's decline left a vacuum, and in the monarchy, vacuums are dangerous. Into that silence stepped William and Catherine, not with ceremony, but with action. And on March 1st, 2025, the world saw the moment when power without a crown became undeniable. Power without a crown. On the morning of March 1st, 2025, the ballroom of St. James's Palace filled with reporters expecting routine updates. Instead, Prince William strode to the podium alone and announced the launch of the Diana Initiative. It was a sweeping program focused on mental health, youth advocacy, and compassionate leadership. He never mentioned Charles. He didn't wait for approval. He invoked his mother's name, her memory, and her vision. And with that, he reshaped the monarchy's future in real time. The choice of name was deliberate. Diana's legacy still lived vividly in the public's heart. By evoking her, William wasn't just making policy. He was making history. Within 15 minutes, social media exploded. By 5 p.m., the phrase, "Diana's legacy lives on," trended globally. Television networks replayed her most famous moments alongside footage of William speaking. Overnight, polls surged. Support for William soared past 80%, while Catherine's approval reached new highs. Catherine's role in that moment was subtle, yet powerful. Standing beside her husband, she was steady, poised, graceful. In later interviews, she spoke calmly about unity, kindness, and resilience. Analysts quickly noticed her words resonated even more deeply than William's. Catherine was no longer simply the Princess of Wales. She was the emotional anchor of a monarchy in transition, and the public embraced her as the face of its future. The most shocking detail was behind the scenes. The Diana Initiative had not been crafted by Charles's advisors at Clarence House. It had been developed entirely by William and Catherine's private team at Kensington Palace. This was not duty handed down. This was leadership seized. And for the first time, the monarchy didn't feel like a promise of what was to come. It felt like a reality already here. Power without a crown. William and Catherine's bold step captured the public's imagination, but it also triggered tremors inside the palace walls. Their rise was undeniable, and with every step forward, someone else was fading. That someone was Queen Camilla, and within weeks, her disappearance became impossible to ignore. Camilla vanishes. In the second week of March 2025, observers noticed something strange. Queen Camilla was scheduled for 3 high-profile events: a March 5th state dinner, a March 7th royal concert, and her own charity gala on March 9th. She missed all 3. Palace aides insisted she was resting at Ray Mill House, but insiders whispered of rage. Camilla had reportedly learned that William had launched the Diana Initiative without her knowledge, and her fury was volcanic. The quote came from a hot mic at a private fundraiser in Wiltshire. Her words shocked those present. "You bring her ghost back, and you bury us all with her." For critics, it was proof of long-suspected resentment. For supporters of William and Catherine, it was evidence that Camilla could not withstand Diana's enduring presence. Instead of leading, she seemed to be unraveling. By March 12th, the first visible signs of her diminishing power appeared. Her official portrait, once hung prominently in a Clarence House meeting room, was quietly removed. Palace staff brushed it off as routine redecorating. But few believed that excuse. Even her charity work began to fade from headlines. Appearances that once guaranteed coverage now went unnoticed. It was as if Camilla's presence was being erased in real time. Meanwhile, Catherine's rise was unmistakable. On March 14th, she attended a youth mental health forum in Leeds, drawing global coverage. Side-by-side photographs compared her calm poise to Camilla's silence. The contrast was brutal. While one queen disappeared, another was quietly born. Camilla's absence was no longer a matter of rest. It was a retreat, one that signaled the monarchy's balance of power had already shifted. Camilla's disappearance left a void, and in that silence, William and Catherine built momentum. By late March, decisions that once flowed through Clarence House were now coming from Kensington Palace. The shift wasn't ceremonial, it was operational, and it marked the beginning of a quiet coup. The quiet coup. By March 25, 2025, royal staff had stopped asking, "Has the king seen this?" Instead, the question was, "Has William signed off?" In less than a month, Clarence House had lost its authority. Press statements, event briefings, and diplomatic memos were all being rerouted through Kensington Palace. The monarchy was still intact on paper, but in practice, power had already moved. Emails revealed by insiders showed the change clearly. On March 27th, an official memo regarding Commonwealth relations bore the signature of William's private secretary, not the king's. Even foreign ambassadors noted the difference. Meetings once scheduled through Charles's team were now arranged through William and Catherine's staff. For royal insiders, it felt like a coup, not loud, not violent, but silent and decisive. King Charles III, weakened by illness, was not entirely unaware. On March 28th, he attended a private briefing and, upon learning of the Diana Initiative's global rollout, reportedly muttered, "Why wasn't I told first?" The room went silent. His words captured the reality. He was king in title, but not in control. The authority he had waited 74 years to claim had quietly slipped through his fingers in less than 2 years. Anne, ever the pragmatist, described it to a confidant as reorganization, not rebellion. The staff echoed the sentiment. The king rules. William leads. What had once been unthinkable was now reality. Without any declaration, the monarchy had been restructured. Clarence House had gone quiet. Kensington was humming with purpose, and the quiet coup was complete. But power shifts don't happen without cost. As William rose, Charles felt the sting, not just as a monarch, but as a father. Their fragile bond reached breaking point in early March, when a private meeting between the two revealed the fracture at the heart of the crown. A father and son divided. On the morning of March 3, 2025, Prince William arrived alone at Clarence House. Catherine did not accompany him. He was summoned for a private meeting with King Charles that lasted just 30 minutes. No aides, no courtiers, just father and son. separated not only by a table, but by vision. Charles's voice, described by insiders as weak yet pointed, opened with a single question. Is this monarchy now ruled by memory? He was referring to Diana, to her name, her ghost, and the initiative that had reignited her presence across the world. It was a sharp, almost desperate plea. William's response was quiet, but cutting. It's not memory. It's relevance. In that single sentence, he delivered the truth his father didn't want to hear. The monarchy could no longer survive on tradition alone. It needed connection, compassion, and Diana's legacy. And William was willing to carry it forward, even if it meant leaving his father behind. There was no handshake, no reconciliation. William left at 11:42 a.m., his car pulling away in silence. Staff who witnessed his departure said his expression was set, resolute. From that day forward, invitations shifted. Briefings were routed to him first. Slowly, the monarchy adjusted. Charles ruled in name, but William led in fact. The fracture wasn't just generational, it was final. The private break between father and son might have stayed hidden, but the public soon saw its reflection. In the weeks that followed, two women came to embody the battle for the monarchy's soul, Camilla and Catherine. And when their words clashed, the world took sides. Camilla versus Catherine. On March 10, 2025, Queen Camilla finally broke her silence. During a press event, when asked about William's Diana initiative, she delivered a veiled jab. The monarchy doesn't need nostalgia to prove its worth. The words landed like a dagger. It wasn't just a dismissal of Diana, it was a dismissal of Catherine, who had become the face of the initiative. Within hours, headlines across London, Toronto, and Sydney lit up. Camilla had chosen her battlefield, and the world was watching. Catherine's response came quietly the next day, March 11th, during a visit to a community youth center in Leeds. A journalist asked what the Diana initiative meant to her. Catherine smiled and said simply, "This is about the future we build together." No jab, no drama, just calm conviction. Yet her words carried weight. They contrasted directly with Camilla's defensiveness, showing the public who truly embodied the monarchy's future. By March 12th, polls revealed the impact. Catherine's approval surged to 83%, her highest ever, while Camilla's dropped to 38%, her lowest since 2020. Social media exploded with hashtags. Queen Catherine trended across 3 continents, while memes comparing her dignity to Camilla's bitterness dominated feeds. Analysts called it the two-queen dilemma. But among the public, the verdict was clear. Catherine had already won. The deeper truth was this: Diana's shadow wasn't fading. It was becoming the foundation of the crown itself. Catherine wasn't invoking the past for sentiment. She was shaping the monarchy's future with empathy and resilience, values Diana herself had fought for. Camilla, by contrast, looked increasingly like a relic of the old order, clinging to a crown the people no longer wanted her to wear. As Camilla faltered, someone unexpected chose to step into the fray. Known for her silence and loyalty to duty, Princess Anne broke decades of neutrality. And when she did, her words and actions tilted the balance even further toward William and Catherine. Princess Anne breaks her silence. On March 14, 2025, Princess Anne was overheard at a charity luncheon in Oxford, speaking with a visiting diplomat. Her words were simple but sharp. Camilla's approach is out of touch, always has been. For someone like Anne, known for blunt honesty but rarely for public drama, it was seismic. The remarks spread like wildfire, showing where her allegiance truly lay. 2 days later, during a March 16th University Awards ceremony, Camilla attempted a public display of unity. Cameras captured her gesturing for Anne to step forward during the closing presentation. Anne refused. She stayed seated, her arms folded, her expression unreadable. The clip went viral. For royal watchers, it was the clearest signal yet. Anne was no longer neutral. She had chosen her choix. Inside the palace, aides began referring to her as the Silent Sentinel. Her alignment with William and Catherine carried immense weight. Anne wasn't just another royal. She was the Princess Royal, the most hard-working member of the family, respected across decades for her consistency. If she sided with the younger generation, it meant the monarchy itself was leaning toward Diana's legacy. Her support gave legitimacy that no poll or headline could match. For William and Catherine, Anne's presence became a shield. For Camilla, it was devastating. The one royal who prided herself on duty had quietly declared that duty now rested with the next generation. And the crown's future suddenly looked clearer than ever. With Anne's weight behind William and Catherine, the power shift accelerated. By April, responsibilities that once belonged to Charles and Camilla were being carried out by the younger royals. No proclamations, no ceremonies, just quiet actions that tilted the crown without a single word. The crown tilts. By April 2025, more than a dozen royal duties had already been transferred to William and Catherine. Diplomatic meetings once led by Charles were now headed by William, including sessions with ambassadors from France, Kenya, and India. Catherine assumed honorary leadership of 3 major charities, 2 of which had been held by Camilla since 2016. The shift wasn't formal, but it was undeniable. On April 12th, Kensington Palace reopened the Diana Room to the public, long closed since 1997. Inside were handwritten notes, rare photographs, and a new pledge. £10 million dedicated to youth mental health over the next 5 years. The symbolism was powerful. Diana's memory was no longer a shadow. It was the monarchy's guiding light, carried forward by her son and daughter-in-law. Meanwhile, Camilla's world shrank. Within 60 days, 4 of her aides resigned or were reassigned. Her appearances were brief, rarely more than 15 minutes, and always carefully managed. What once was her growing influence had dwindled into silence. Her image, once elevated by the press, seemed to fade into the background. For the monarchy, it wasn't collapse. It was reorganization. Titles hadn't changed, but the heart of the crown now beat at Kensington. The people felt it. The press reported it. Even the palace couldn't deny it. Quietly, decisively, the crown had tilted, and it was resting firmly on William and Catherine's shoulders. Yet even as power shifted, the monarchy faced a deeper test. A king too weak to lead, a queen consort fading into irrelevance, and a Princess of Wales rising as the soul of the family. By May 2025, the monarchy stood on the edge of transformation, with Catherine at its center. A monarchy on the edge. In May 2025, King Charles III appeared in public only twice. Both times lasted less than 15 minutes, his smiles strained, his waves subdued. The public saw the truth. Their monarch was present, but no longer leading. The man crowned with grandeur in 2023 was now a fading figurehead, overshadowed by his own heir. William and Catherine, by contrast, weren't waiting. They stepped fully into the vacuum. William led state visits, strategy councils, and diplomatic receptions. Catherine expanded her presence, meeting with schools, hospitals, and charities almost daily. Each appearance painted her not just as the future queen, but as the emotional anchor of the monarchy. Camilla, once the lightning rod of royal drama, had become a ghost. Her absence was no longer rumor, it was reality. With each passing week, her relevance faded further. Media coverage evaporated. Patronages slipped away. Even within the palace, she seemed isolated. Her retreat symbolized the decline of an old order that could not survive against the weight of Diana's memory and Catherine's presence. Princess Anne stood firm beside William and Catherine, her loyalty unmistakable. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't emotional, but her alignment gave the younger royals something invaluable: royal validation. And while Charles remained king in name, the monarchy's true soul had moved. Catherine, calm, resilient, and deeply human, was now the heart of the crown. The monarchy wasn't ending, it was evolving, and its future had already begun. From Charles's fading reign to Camilla's vanishing presence, from Anne's loyalty to Catherine's rise, the monarchy has crossed a threshold. What began as a health crisis has become a silent coronation. And though the crown still rests on Charles's head, the people already see who holds it in truth: William and Catherine, guided always by Diana's shadow. As the world absorbs today's heartbreaking update, one truth is impossible to deny: the crown has never looked so fragile. King Charles III, crowned in May 2023, with all the grandeur of Westminster Abbey, now struggles in silence, his reign barely 2 years old. What was supposed to be a new era of stability has instead become a fight for continuity. Yet, in the cracks of uncertainty, new figures have emerged. Prince William and Princess Catherine have already stepped forward, not with grand declarations, but with quiet action. William's launch of the Diana Initiative earlier this year wasn't just a campaign, it was a statement. Catherine's calm presence beside him, her steady words about unity and resilience, offered the kind of reassurance the monarchy has always relied on in times of crisis. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla's absence is raising questions louder than any statement. Once expected to be Charles's anchor, her retreat from the spotlight leaves Catherine carrying not just public sympathy, but the family's emotional weight. Even Princess Anne, long respected for her neutrality, has shifted closer to William and Catherine, lending them the legitimacy of tradition. Tonight, outside Buckingham Palace, candles are already being lit. Crowds stand silently, some in tears, others in prayer. They are not just mourning a king's decline, they are witnessing the monarchy's transformation. The crown may still rest on Charles's head, but the people see where its future lies. And at the center of it all stands Catherine, calm, resilient, and unshaken. In this moment of heartbreak, she is not just the Princess of Wales. She is the soul of a monarchy on the edge. Holding it together with grace, the world will not forget.